Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Hi, we're Team 5. My name is Marcos.
My name is Franklin.
My name is Marley.
And I'm Camilla.
We all worked hard on this project. It's called FNP1, Fire Neutralizer Prototype 1. We all try to make it the best tool it can be for everybody that can use it.
So to start off, I'd like to talk about a problem we saw. Throughout this week, we visited 3 different places. We visited the Magnolia Police Department Station, as well as the Riverside Fire Department Fire Training, and RCC School of Nursing. So one problem we saw was fire. Fire can happen in any moment, and often when least expected. So one design solution that we came up with was the Fire Neutralizer Prototype 1. And one thing is that usually the first people on scene are police. And what could they do when something happens? Not only that, but in a hospital setting, nurses and doctors, what could they do when a fire goes on? So we came up with this to help solve that issue in those few minutes. I put a couple of minutes goes by because the typical time response for the fire department to get there is just under 5 minutes, and a lot can happen in those 5 minutes. And not only that, but the fire department also uses big equipments like big ladders, big hoses as well, and just their truck itself is big. So imagine that in small spaces. So this design will help with that.
Like he said, it can buy time for the fire department to get there, or it can buy time for the firefighters to save people. So if you can hold this for me. How it works is you pull the pin, push down, slide it to the designated destination, and it will extinguish, it'll produce dry powder in the vicinity of the fire victims and the firefighters, so that it will put out the fire around them so that the firefighters have more time to save their victims. It can also be used by a police department to slide and put out fires to buy time for the fire department to get there.
Now let's get a little more on the internals. Internally, we have a CO2 capsule that when that button is pressed, is punctured, releasing the liquid condensed CO2, letting it expand to a gas form, creating pressure inside the device. With that pressure, it then will expel the dry chemical powder out of 3 nozzles, providing an equal distribution of the dry chemical powder, extinguishing the fire. And also that CO2 capsule is easily replaceable just by removing the old one and putting the new one in.
Now let's dive into the cost. So the container costs $10, while the dry powder and the canister together cost $15. And with the assembly and the button, it costs roughly around $20. So the estimated cost to produce the FNP1 would be around $50. And so we would retail this at around $80. So for the funding, we would go to the Riverside County and pitch their idea and get some grant. And we would also go to private investors who are interested in backing safety and technical developments. So the distribution, first we would try to get it to fire departments, police departments, and to hospitals. And then we would go to insurance companies so that they can provide some kind of incentive for homeowners and business owners as well, so they can have it in their home and in case of any kind of emergency. For the partnerships, we would partner up with fire extinguisher brands and home safety companies to make sure that they all get everything they need. And the fire extinguisher brands would help us develop and produce a lot of their things, of our things.
We didn't only make this to save lives, we also made it affordable and accessible for anybody that can use it in case of any emergency. And I couldn't do it without, I couldn't do it alone without my teammates here that helped me sharpen up everything about it, and thank you.
And this is our prototype right here. This is what it looks like and how it's built and made.
All right, judges, do we have any questions? Yep, I'm good. You're good. Okay, no, yes. All right, any questions for our team?
Hi. My question is, so the total cost is $80, $50 for materials. So what makes up the $30 markup? How did you determine $30?
Well, the markup would be to at least make some profit off of it, so we could get some funds back and to be able to produce more, because there's always fires around. So.
What is the canister made out of?
It would just be like one of the normal commercially available CO2 canisters, which are already designed to withstand high pressure and have a slight heat tolerance already.
Okay, and then one more question. So as soon as you push it in, it releases the CO2 and then starts to expel the dry powder?
Yes.
Is there a delay at all, or as soon as you push it, does it start to expel? Because I'm thinking of a nurse or a doctor, somebody who doesn't do this all the time. Are they going to get the extinguisher all over them, or is there a delay?
Right now we haven't figured out like a way to put a delay, but I was thinking too, like I thought of that problem too, because it is toxic, like dry powder inside. But yeah, in further like producing, there would be a delay.
Once it is expelled, does it actually spin? Are you hoping that it's spinning, or is it just powder going out, and how is that stopping the fire?
So, it is like we thought of that too. We thought it would spin, but the materials to make it spin, like it would either have to be motorized or put some sort of bearing in it, and we just thought that would be more expensive. That's why we came up with the 3 like valves to produce the dry powder, so it could go in different directions.
Yeah, one of the questions that I had was sort of answered, but it wasn't quite clear. Now I'm assuming that if there is a fire and you're going to set this off with the delay, you wouldn't be around it, especially if it's toxic chemicals. And did you think about maybe a secondary problem that might be caused with the toxic chemical cleanup afterward?
Like a fire extinguisher, obviously the dry powder would get everywhere, but at least the biggest problem and the main concern would be the fire, and that would be put out. In my opinion, any side effects that come from the dry powder is worth it rather than losing your life to the fire.
Good answer.